Hello and welcome. My name is Tom. This is the Enthusiasm Project Season 4, Episode 8, and I bet you can't wait to see what the heck this is all about. So we're doing something just a little bit different today, and actually for the next few weeks. So I wanted to give you some context before we jump into that. Today's episode was recorded about a month ago from the time I'm recording this intro. And normally when I record this show, it comes out on Mondays, and I usually record on Saturday or Sunday. So it's a very quick turnaround. This is different, and the reason that it's different is that for the past month, Heather and I have been recording what we've been calling secret episodes. I'm doing air quotes with my fingers right now, because we've been wanting to document something that we just can't talk about publicly as it was happening and is happening, which is I made the decision to leave my job and go full-time into YouTube and things like that. And panic. And it's overall very exciting. So basically, it's been sort of a crazy while. And if you've been listening for a while, you probably know this. Starting my channel and podcast and all that, I'm not somebody who ever thought, oh, this would be a thing I will do full time, regardless of money and income. It just seemed so, I was almost like embarrassed to admit that was something I would want to do. I was worried about the practicality and the sustainability and just so many different things. I worry about all the things. And so that's what I was doing, was just worrying about everything. And it really wasn't until it was really this podcast specifically that played a huge role in that mental shift, because last summer there were some episodes where for the first time, like out loud and to other people, I admitted that, doing this full time is actually something I would want to do if it's possible. And maybe it could be possible, and maybe I could take active steps to make that possible. I hadn't actually, admitted it full time. It was just sort of this thing in the back of my head where it's like, well, if you're making $1 million a year, then it's a pretty obvious choice, but not when it's like, can you make, a middle class income, doing this stuff full time? That's kind of where I was coming at it from. And so we talked about that last summer in some different episodes, and what I would want it to look like if I were able to do something like this full time and that sort of thing. And then earlier in season 4, I did the series of episodes about, structuring the channel as a business and revenue, expenses, and all that. And even though I had been tracking those numbers for a long time, going through and trying to dissect them and explain them for an audience really kind of drove home the point to me that, like, this is actually in a very good spot right now. And that's like, it just sort of made me look at it in a way that I hadn't looked at it before. And while personally I would prefer that it was a little further along before taking a leap like this, there are just also other things in terms of being a teacher right now, a year into a pandemic, kind of sucks. And where I'm at, we have been online since March of 2020. I'm recording this in March of 2021, so just about a year almost exactly. And I think that, as imperfect as that was the best decision, because I think it is the overall safest and smartest. Not perfect, but the best overall. And basically that was kind of the first step in pulling me away from my job, because I'm not in person. I'm not working with students every day. It's just, you're really looking at the system and how it doesn't work in a lot of ways and all that sort of stuff. And that kind of made me go, okay, well, maybe instead of transitioning over the next several years to doing this full time, maybe this could be my last year based on how things are happening. And then further developments, which we'll get into in all these episodes. But as I'm recording this, I am about 2 weeks away from my very last day, which was something I didn't quite expect. So don't worry, we will dive into that as we document everything. But today's episode, well, actually, and the reason that I wanted to do this in the first place, which most of the credit should really go to Heather, because of course I was going to talk about it, but she was the one who had the idea of, like, you should document this stuff in real time, not just for us to kind of capture the feelings and the thoughts and everything, but that it might actually be useful for other people, because I have heard, and I'm sure you have too, you might follow someone online and then suddenly they make an announcement where they're like, hey, I'm doing this full time. You're like, oh, that's awesome. But it just looks so clean. Like one day you have a job and the next day you do your own thing full time and all is well. And there has to be growing pains, transition pains, whatever you want to call it, happening in between there. And I really wanted to, it would have been very helpful for me to have that to look at from someone else. And since there wasn't, I figured maybe I could make that for somebody else. So if you're thinking of what are like the nuts and bolts, what are the feelings, how do you handle these kinds of things? That's why we wanted to document this piece by piece. So the next several weeks, we're calling it the Secret Series just because the episodes were recorded before we could talk about them. And the big reason for that, honestly, is if I was choosing to leave my job, I didn't want to publish episodes or talk about it like before I had told, my boss and especially before I had told my students and things like that. So I didn't want things to be public before the people that it was affecting the most knew about it. And I think that's just kind of the right thing to do. So we'll cover all that in the coming weeks. But today's episode was very interesting. So like I said, this was recorded in early February of 2021. And this was where I was really just hitting my limits. I had these, I'd been working my regular job for years. And then I've been working, YouTube channel stuff for years. And the past year or so, as I've said before, YouTube was taking up as much time as a full-time job, but also my full-time job was taking as much as a full-time job. And it's just coming to a head and wasn't really sustainable. And so Heather suggested that if I was thinking about leaving, which she's been a huge proponent of for a very long time, that what if I acted as if? So instead of making a decision and freaking out, but just sit with the idea, say, okay, I'm going to move on, I'm going to resign, I'm going to transition. But you don't have to actually tell anybody, you don't have to actually turn anything in or make the decision, but just act as if you made the decision and then live with it for a few days and just sort of see how you feel with that reality shift and that perspective shift. And then after a couple days, we sat down and recorded this episode. So that's what you'll hear today. And then we'll kind of keep going through this. And I think it will be very helpful for anybody who wonders how a transition like this might work. I'm sure my story has similarities and overlaps to other people's, but I know everybody's experience and story is unique, but especially because for someone who maybe, is, I hate saying a little bit older, but a little bit older, and you have a career, like your mid-30s, beyond, you've got an established career, you've got things going, and now you want to make this shift. How do you realistically do that? It's very different than being fresh out of high school and saying, like, I want to try something a little different for career because, there's less moving parts to take care of usually. And so I wanted to share that for anybody who's in that position. Maybe there's something you can glean from it and something that will be helpful. So that's what we're doing today. I hope you enjoy it. I would 100% love some feedback and some insight. So feel free to send those my way. And now I will very slickly and very smoothly play some music to transition to the first episode in the Secret Series, The Decision. Okay, I'm recording on February 8th.
Yes, you are.
Yes, for the third time.
Okay, so this was my idea to record this podcast, that this should even be a podcast. So as you said before you pushed record, I think I should kind of
Take the lead,
guide you through the journey that is this episode.
Okay.
So there's been some developments. And
Yes.
Basically, for those of you guys listening, to frame the conversation, Tom has been juggling with the idea of his career and the future of it for a while now. And I think if you're a YouTube viewer or part of his community, you might think like, oh, this is a natural next step. It actually wasn't. It was more of like the coronavirus and the world and the pandemic and all of this maybe forced you to reprioritize things. And maybe if you had been thinking about possibly doing a career change. It was nowhere going to be near 2021.
Right. No.
But because of how things are, here you are. And basically it all kind of came to it all came to the head, I guess, last week when I don't even know what it was. You were kind of just feeling frustrated and just having all of these thoughts, and you were debating, like, is this a decision I need to make? Meaning, do I leave? Do I stay? Do I do my own thing?
Right.
And I told you, maybe the way that you should approach this is to, for the next 48 hours, pretend that you were going to decide to leave to pursue your own endeavors and sit with it, sleep with it, think about it, go through all of the emotions for 48 hours. This is, it's not final, but go through it and see how you feel at the end of the weekend.
Yes.
It's the end of the weekend, and I wanted to make sure to record this episode before you went back to work tomorrow.
Right.
You've actually had a 3-day weekend.
Yes.
So you've had a lot of time to sit on it. You've talked to a lot of people.
Yeah.
And I will tell you that last week, when we first talked about this, you were feeling very torn, and there was anguish. I can tell there was anguish of like, there's a little bit of you being upset that you even have to make this decision.
Yeah.
And so I just want to ask, how do you feel now?
I feel good at the end. But
what is your decision?
as far as I'm concerned,
have you made a decision?
Moment, yeah, as far as I'm concerned at this moment, I'm done at the end of this year with teaching. Yeah.
Instead, you are going to be
with public school teaching. Yeah. So instead, I will be shifting to focus on my. I call it my YouTube channel, but it would include it's just shorthand for. Yeah, the YouTube channel is a lot of it with all the different like revenue, but also courses, also other future things that might happen, podcasts.
So you're not leaving for another job.
Not leaving for another job. No.
Yeah, you are working for you.
Working for me. Yeah. And
you've made the decision. This wasn't like you're sitting on it and now we're talking about it. No, you've made that decision. This is
if they put a contract in front of me today for next year, I wouldn't sign it. And it's been a weird few days because it's mostly excited. Like there's a big part of me that's like, oh, I wish I could just leave now. Because it's February, but the school year doesn't end until June.
So how the heck did you get from I'm so torn, I can't believe I can't believe I have to make this decision. You were very torn. This was not like an easy thing.
No.
It's been a journey of a weekend. But today you're just like, I wish I can just leave now. Yeah, so how did you get there?
Today I've also been feeling sad and like anxious and stuff. But because what it ultimately was last year, pre-COVID, I had said that I want to be doing something else within 5 years. So what do I need to do? What do I need to have in place where 5 years from then
you can pivot?
I'm doing something else. Doesn't mean wait 5 years and pivot, but over the course of 5 years, just sort of look back and go like, oh, look, I'm doing this now. Mm-hmm. And then COVID happened, and that, for so many reasons, like obviously shifted a lot of things. For me, the biggest thing was it stripped like the remaining stuff that I really enjoyed about my job away. Because teaching, like being in the classroom with a focused group of students, sharing content or subject that I'm excited about is like one of the best feelings in the world.
And you're doing it for a subject that you're super passionate about.
And have the resources to do it. We've got all the, like, it's like very few things are better. But even in a regular situation, the time that I get to do that is so minimal because there's so much you have to fight through just to get to that point. That just because public education is broken is my firm belief. But this COVID kind of took that away. Like there's still cool things that can happen in online classes.
But you haven't been in the classroom in so long.
Students haven't been in my class in almost in 11 months. At this point, a solid 11 months.
Literally hundreds of thousands of dollars of absolutely amazing equipment.
Basically, you could just say $1 million of equipment that's just not being touched. Other than me, when I go one day a week and teach from there and try to like set up a cool, studio to teach from, and so that kind of made it easy because it wasn't like, well, here's my very last, I didn't know my last day in the classroom was my last day in the classroom with
right.
students.
Yeah.
And that's probably for the best.
Yeah.
But also it like the past year, in addition to that, just the way teachers have been treated. Everybody loved them for like 2 weeks last March, and now we're supervillains, and it's just not worth it. And public education does not work. I mean, you know, there's cases where it does, but it's broken. It's a messed up system. It makes no sense. The demands on teachers are insane, and looking forward to next school year, the thing that really made my decision was like how frustrated I am with that. Where like I don't like being a villain when literally I'm just trying to teach your kid, like,
Yeah.
and you know, for a lot of reasons, even pre-COVID, like student motivation is low just in general. So you're fighting this endless battle. And there's just so many frustrating things like that. And then looking forward to next school year, that's when it became clear where I was just like, I can't do, because next school year, if COVID was Thanos snapped away and
Right.
like every little particle disappeared and everything was safe again, it would still be like a nightmare of just starting over and rebuilding and retraining.
You're going to have juniors who have never set foot on a high school campus.
Yeah, maybe a couple months of freshman year and that's it. And I've already built 2 media programs and I just don't have the energy to like rebuild one right now. Or I just don't want to. I don't want to put that energy into someone else's thing anymore. And realistically, that's not even how it's going to look, because it's probably going to be some weird hybrid educational model. And I have no interest in doing that. And that led me to think, you know, like I still don't know right now if we're staying like remote online class for the rest of the year or not. It's always kind of been like the assumption that we were, but there's been so much talk lately
Like
about
everyone's their primary mission is to try to get schools back open.
And the big thing there is I've drawn my line in the sand. Like as of right now, we don't have vaccines. Kids, it's not even possible for kids to get vaccines. I'm not going back. I'm not going back to campus this school year. And so very real, like it's overreacting or whatever, but I had to go, okay, if they sent out a thing that said starting next week, you're back on campus, I will not go back. I don't know what that means. If that means I get a weird reassignment to some online thing, or if it just means walking away mid-contract or whatever, but I'm not going back for health and safety reasons.
Campus, right?
Yeah, period, this year. And so that was like, then I was looking at where my channel was, where it's, especially the past like 3 months, it's been growing consistently, you know, since I really started monetizing it a little over a year ago. But the past 3 months, maybe 4 months, is where it started like getting close to meeting and then surpassing what my day job income was. Not by much. It's pretty neck and neck, but it's not like, oh, look, I'm making $600 for my YouTube channel every month. Like we could stretch that out, right? It's like, oh no, I'm easily making more from YouTube than I did my first several years of teaching.
So I wish we had recorded an episode before Saturday, because nothing's changed since before Saturday. Like everything, what you just told me is exactly the same. You're still making, it's not like you got all this money over the weekend or anything. Everything is absolutely the same. But
what happened on Saturday?
You were so worried about the biggest reason that was holding you back, which was financial security.
I'm still worried about that.
Right. So I think talk about that. How come you haven't mentioned that at all? That was that was probably like the only reason why you were thinking, and it's a big reason. So that's why you were really torn about it. So get into that. How come that's not something you're even...
So for whoever's listening, or for future Tom or whatever, financial security, a very big deal to me.
Very big deal.
Like my mom's parents were Depression era people, and they played a huge part in raising me. Obviously they raised my mom. That stuck certain things into my brain about money. Growing up, didn't have a lot. Like financial security wasn't a huge thing that was there. And then my whole up until the last 5 years, I like never really had financial security, where now it's like it very much so paycheck. You can pay the bills, put money in savings, have money for emergencies, have money for fun. And it's not even like an exorbitant amount or anything, but like there's financial security that I've never had before. Plus, I've been saving like crazy for a lot of years, and that stuff just now pays off because I feel like there's like a cushion there. So that's a very, very, very big deal. And so to throw that away because school, regardless of the job conditions, I'm under contract. So I will never make less. I will make my paycheck every month, and I will not make less than that. I don't know what the day-to-day looks like. You can be reassigned. You can be blah, 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 but your pay will be the same. But next year, I will max out the salary schedule where I'm at in my district, unless I start taking a bunch of other like teacher classes, which I'm not going to do. I've already done enough of that, and they're the worst class. I'm not going to do that. So I've maxed out where I can go, which means after next year, there's no more raises unless
for the rest of your life.
Unless our teachers union renegotiates our contract, which happens every 1 to 3 years, and probably so basically every 2 to 3 years I get a 1 to 2% raise, which is just a cost of living increase. So it's not like woohoo, there's more money. It's like just
promoted or something.
Yeah, it's just cost of living, and that's pretty much it. And that's where that would stay. Whereas with YouTube, there is no ceiling. It can go way past that. There's also no floor. It could go into the negative. Like everything could dry up, and then I could be in debt. So it seems, though, that things are fairly consistent. Like the rate of growth hasn't been like exponential, where it's like, oh, wow, like you're just jumping on this trend. It's been pretty steady, consistent growth for over a year. And it seems like, okay, every time you make a video, it's one more thing that goes in the library. It's more audience. It's, it seems like the audience that's there is super interested in not just videos, but are interested in courses or podcasts. Seems like they don't really care. I mean, I have a very fine touch with like sponsored things or ads or whatever, but it seems like I don't really care if I just do it on my own terms. Like everybody understands what that is, and it'll be okay. So that kind of opens up some windows for like future things to come in. And I mean, there's a savings that I have. I don't want to burn through it, but it's there because I have to save for the summer anyway, because I don't get paid in the summer. So with 5 school paychecks left, plus the money that goes through summer, that's through at least the end of September without touching YouTube money, which is hopefully, my big thing is like, where's that going to be by the end of the year? But hopefully continues to meet or exceed what that paycheck is. I would like it to exceed, because of course it according to my calculations, it needs to be like 3 to 4 times as much to handle the to make up for the lack of security, handle the benefits, insurance, that kind of stuff that I'm not getting. Taxes. Working on my own. Teachers union, I have great insurance and retirement and that kind of stuff, which I won't have anymore, and that scares me. So figuring that stuff out, but that's why it's nice that right now it's February. There's 5 months to
prepare.
Yeah, to prepare all that kind of stuff.
So just for the record, in case anyone, this is not clear for anyone, I have been on the Tom needs to be doing his own thing and join Entrepreneurland since the very first day that I met him. Yes. And I've always felt like that. Even before he had his YouTube channel, even before his brand is what it is now. I mean,
but I didn't know
you're 55,000 subscribers. You're so, I mean, you're making 10K. What? You've hit 10K a month on YouTube, right?
No, my biggest month so far was 95.
Yeah, but you're not. What about all the money on the table that you're leaving?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so yeah, that's a choice that you're deciding to leave. So there's 10K, being offered to you through your YouTube channel consistently for
without having courses or anything.
Yeah, without anything,
which is the thing that I really want to get going.
Exactly, without you doing your teacher thing, which is what you're a professional at. And so now that again, I've thought this since day one, but every single day that I've lived with you and seen you grow and seen what you've created and built is just more reason for me to be like, I can't believe he's still not doing his own thing. So I've been counting down to this day, and I just want to put that on the record in case anyone's like, how is she? Is she supportive of this? Is she not?
Yes, the answer is yes.
I'm like,
she is supportive.
I've been trying to it's like I just have to. I feel like there's times where to be the supportive spouse of Tom, I have to just let you figure it out on your own.
Well, it's not, yes, but.
And timing and all of these
Yeah,
things.
because the thing, like.
I'm not trying to make you feel bad for, like, waiting.
Well, because I couldn't have done this. I mean, if it were up to me, it would be nice to, like, let the channel grow more organically, which it could in the next 5 months. We don't know. But.
It will.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully, knock on wood. But that would be nice, but I can make it work now with what we got. And I kind of forgot what my main point was there. Oh, but the bigger thing was, I'm like, which you have pointed out, which is very true, is I'm not like quitting my job to start something new. It's already been, by the time the school year ends, it will have been 4 years of my YouTube channel. Figuring it out, learning it, monetizing it for 1.5 years at that point. And for the past year, I've been saying this before realizing I was quitting, but I've just been saying, like, I have 2 full-time jobs, which I'm not exaggerating. Like, really, it's 2 full-time jobs to teach and do all that kind of stuff, which is my contracted full-time job, but then to run the channel, which is so much more than just, like, recording and editing a video.
If you're bringing in 10K a month, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, which by itself takes hours and hours and tons of energy and resources and stuff. But beyond that, like, there's so much more that goes into it, and then so much more that needs to go into it to do the things that I want to do. So that's not a sustainable situation, and I recognize that.
Yeah.
And so it just kind of came. That was the example I used the other day, was unstoppable force meets an immovable object, which is my contracted secure job, well-paying secure job that I went to school for a long time for, meeting the personal endeavor I've started on the side. The job is logically the thing to focus on because it's the security, but the thing that's on my own is the thing I'm not willing to give up. So the two are just at odds.
Yeah.
And that's the reason, is because the job, even if I get my own I have my own program, but I mean, like, even the fact I get to have my own program, build my own thing, make my own curriculum, I have more freedom than almost any teacher you could ever meet. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I still feel stifled. And at the end of the day, I'm still making something that's for somebody else. All it takes is one administrative change, one budget change, one whatever, for everything to change and go away. And
well, that and, like, even the way it's running is so slow. Like,
oh, good God.
I mean, it's crazy because it seems lightning fast. Like, your program is undeniably impressive to anybody. Like you said, they end every tour in your classroom because it literally is jaw-dropping. But even to run it at that speed is actually like 10% of what you could be doing if you didn't have the bureaucracy and the politics and the red tape.
But that's what you and I were talking about this morning, is I was raised to think that your job has to suck. You have you're not supposed to like your job.
It's not supposed
It's your
to be,
job.
yeah.
Maybe there's parts of it you enjoy, maybe it pays really well, but you go and you do your job, and if you're miserable while you're there, fine. If you're not, even better.
But that's what you're getting paid to do.
Yeah, your nights and your weekends or whatever, that's the time for you to do whatever you want to do on the side, but your job is your job, and it is what it is. And that, like, I know that that's not ideal, but I've always just felt that that's, like, normal and realistic, because to want anything else is foolish or naive or selfish or
who are you to
who am I? And that also goes to, like, what I said about growing up, where I grew up in a poor community. I grew up, like, we didn't have a ton of money or anything, and then I like on my own didn't have things, but also just as a teacher, I've only ever taught in poor schools. And I've only, basically for 35 years, I've only ever been around people who are scraping to get by and struggling to get by. And when you talk about, like, not you, but when, somebody talks about, oh, just follow your dreams and get paid, or spend money on a new blah, blah, blah. And it's like, no, the money needs to go towards debt and bills and blah, 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 blah.
There's always something to pay.
Yeah, and there always is. But personally, I've been pretty good. I don't have, other than the mortgage, which, yes, it's debt, but I don't have.
Tom has a perfect credit score, guys. I don't know if he's talked about this.
It's poked up to 800, but it bounces down a little bit.
Literally, you guys. I've never met anyone who's had an 800.
Proud of that one. That's a lot of work.
So Tom's life and upbringing and exposure and, people who he's learned from. Obviously, Tom is a very frugal and, financial security is a huge, just ingrained priority for you.
And for whatever reason, creativity and, for lack of a better word, fun and financial security are just things that don't go together.
Ever.
It's oil and water.
You've never seen that, yeah.
They're all important things, but it's just stuff that doesn't go together.
Well, guess what, Tom? It's 2021. And there's a magical land called YouTube.
I know. It's crazy because it's crazy. It's ridiculous because I know so many other teachers that are in my position in terms of being burnt out and done and wanting to leave, but they're the biggest option that most teachers have in that case, if it's not just applying at another school, is to apply at an ed tech company, either doing sales or curriculum development or something like that. And the jobs usually pay really well, and but you're working. It's literally the most stereotypical office job you could have. Which some people that's all they want after they've spent 5 or 10 years in a classroom or more. They can go to the bathroom whenever they want.
Yeah, of course.
These things where you're just basic needs, you can eat lunch without panicking. You can.
So here's to me, I have 1,000 reasons why Tom should leave and pursue his own thing. But I think the thing that was a main discussion point this weekend was, you kind of touched upon it earlier, but for anyone who's wanting to eventually do a creative endeavor full time, the thing is, Tom is 35. Okay, so he's been a teacher
I look youthful. This is my 11th year.
11th year teaching, and also it's not just like a teacher. Okay, Tom is definitely cream of the crop status. He was, a California State Teacher of the Year nominee. He was District Teacher of the Year. Mm-hmm. So he's, out of 30,000 teachers.
County Teacher of the Year.
Higher than, sorry.
Yeah,
sorry.
And
okay,
School Site Teacher of the Year. Student's Choice Top 10 several years in a row. And...
So, Tom is not just he's one of the best teachers. He's extremely good at what he does. He's not only gotten the training, put in the experience, grown, built his own program, but multiple programs at this point. And the current program that he has, you built from scratch, literally floorboard by floorboard, by yourself.
Yes.
Okay. The other program you built, you had a department.
I revamped, and there was a team of 9 people.
There was a team. This was all you by yourself, with no one having done it before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's what you were brought there to do.
Brand new. Yeah.
Okay, so you have had quite the accomplished career as a teacher. The thing is, as an entrepreneur, content creator, whatever you want to call it, this is your 4th year doing that.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think when people are thinking, when they think about just outside looking in, you have a full-time job, you're working full-time, and then you want to do this thing on the side, mm-hmm. or you want to start your own business or whatever. Tom is not starting from scratch.
Right.
He's not having to figure out how to start a business, how to get paid, what his brand is, what he's going to be known for, what he's offering, what he's selling, his products, his services, his marketing. All of that has been figured out. And on top of that, I think one of the hardest parts, at least, in my experience as an entrepreneur, is so much of it's almost like the confidence, the figuring out. Mm-hmm. It's I said yes to a lot of things. I learned the hard way. Here's the thing. You couldn't say yes to a lot of things because you have a full-time job. But I didn't. I didn't even know what I was doing. It was just I was just going to figure it out as I go. And I had all day to do that. Whereas it's just by nature of having to juggle these two things, that kind of put a limit on.
Had to be selective.
Yeah,
But it was
exactly.
also like I started the channel with no intention of it ever making money. And
So everything you learned, you already like.
it was just a pure passion project that
Right.
organically started being profitable. And then I learned along the way that that's okay.
Right.
And then and then when it's like that could actually be like a stepping stone to something else, and it seems like that's also okay. Like that's what I'm learning. But it wasn't. Yeah, it's 4 years. It'll be 4 years in, and it wasn't started. It wasn't starting this channel to make money, starting this to go full time. It's not a thing I would have
think it's a
ever,
big
ever
difference.
thought
Yeah.
would happen. It just sort of like hit the point, and
And it's not just YouTube. Like we have the YouTube Mastermind. You've had YouTube consulting clients. Like people are
Right.
paying $200 an hour to consult with you, and you know what it's like to do client interaction, client feedback. Like you've gone through all that. You've done the books,
invoicing and
Yeah,
all this stuff. Yeah,
exactly.
all those little things. We got our LLC in order. We got revenue stream, like all that stuff.
That's
which
all
each
taken
one of those
care
is
of.
such a learning experience on its own. And there's still more. There's still lots of stuff we got to figure out, or I got to figure out, or whatever. But the foundation is there, and the foundation is solid, and that's been a relief for the whole COVID thing, because like I said, if they were to say like you have to go back in the classroom, I'm not doing
The
that.
foundation's there.
While I wouldn't want to make the leap, especially a year ago, like I wasn't
Yeah.
ready, but just knowing like if I had to, it could work.
You're not starting from scratch.
Yeah, and now that it's more of like it's bigger. That's I don't know, and just having like I have no idea where the ceiling is. My fear is like, well, it'll just plateau with where it's at or go down, and I've peaked, and that would be bad. But based on like objectively looking around at the landscape and seeing what's happened, not that you can play the comparison game, not that everybody's journey is so incredibly unique. You can find people with hundreds of thousands of subscribers that cannot support themselves full time, and you can find people who went full time with 8,000 subscribers. So like it's a very different landscape for everybody, but in general it seems like where I'm at, where it's going is positive, and there's no.
Yeah, also though, that's not even counting the fact that you can monetize off of your career of being a professional teacher. Like
Yeah.
that has nothing to do. I mean, it has something to do with YouTube because that's where the funnel of the people would come, but still like, you can literally do what you are doing now just on your own.
Right. Yeah. I know. I mean, that's it. And when it comes to courses and things,
And
like
that's a lot. That's a huge source of income. That's not like, hey, we're going to sell merch. That's like
that in theory would be like the
biggest,
main one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Once it gets up and running, or in another year or so, that would be ideal. So yeah, I don't even know.
Words, Tom.
The fact that that's possible is crazy, and I'll never leave. Like I'll just not leave my job otherwise.
Oh yeah, I know that.
Yeah.
Tom's not a yeah.
Yeah, and it's like you could say
Tom's
that's
not
loyal.
he's not gonna be the one to make that decision. I know it.
Yeah, and
I know
I have a tendency to. I told you this yesterday. Aside from Heather and like current friendship relationships, but in the past, I have a tendency to put myself in unhealthy relationships.
Yeah, and the way that you see it is like you are. I don't know if it's like loyalty, but like
it's just following through on a commitment. It's just
following through on a commitment is the way.
I just sort of assume everybody else is working with the greater good at heart, and that's not the case.
It's
and
not the case,
especially with COVID. Like I feel,
Yeah.
I have an above average district, an above average school site, administrative team. If I got COVID and died, there'd be someone else in my spot in days. Like it, at the end of the day, people would be sad, I guess, and then they'd forget in a couple weeks and move on, and that's it. So how much do I really want to sacrifice?
One of the things a coworker told me when I was debating whether to leave, when I still had my job, was she looked at me and she said, anybody could do this job, but no one can do that. And I was
That's
like, damn, that's good.
Well, I also like that it's crazy how many teachers, who teach for a long time have only ever been at one school site. And
that's scary.
It is scary to me. So I'm glad that I spent half my career at one school site and half at another. So I've already left a program, and I've already kind of gone through that of like, it's sad and it can be depressing and you kind of have to mourn, and there's all these feelings around it. But I also know that then it goes on, and somebody else steps in and does something else with it, and it's not your business anymore.
Put in I said this earlier, like you're not entry level, you're not in your 20s, like you.
Well, that's the scary part too, though, is because all I know prior to teaching was I worked retail. That was it. I interned for free, so that wasn't super paid. And working at the TV station when I was paid was terrible hours. It's like the middle of the night and stuff, holidays and everything. Otherwise, it's all been retail. Has been my work experience since I was 15, and that's like 20 years too. But so in my mind, those are the two options. Because when I left my last non-teaching job, which was Trader Joe's, and went to teaching was luxurious because I got to wear nice clothes. I wasn't disgusting and dirty at the end of the day.
It's like a legit career.
Yeah, I could sit down sometimes. I had a set schedule. I got weekends off. Like, those were all luxuries. And Trader Joe's, like, if you're working retail, they're pretty much one of the best to work for. And it seemed like such a luxury. So in my mind, anything that's not that is going to be worse. Even going to like another company or an office job, you don't get summers off. You don't get, but the myth of like you just have the full summer off is false, by the way. But you don't get those breaks. Like the academic calendar has perks. That's what I've been on most of my life. The idea of leaving it it's scary, but the idea that like, yeah, but if you're working for yourself, then there is no like,
you break the calendar. It doesn't even exist.
Yeah. And that, I don't understand it. I understand it in theory and it makes me excited, but I don't like get
every
it.
day can be a holiday. It's so weird. It's the weirdest.
I mean, just the idea of like, yeah, so, okay, maybe you're not going to take summer off, like 2 months in a row off, but
you can work if you're okay. So yeah, if you had, 90 days off in the summer or whatever, 60 days off. Instead, you could just do 4-day work weeks and have a 3-day weekend every time.
Yeah. Or, I mean, because previously during the past however many summers it's been, when I do have, because if I'm not setting up for the school year or going to trainings or going to conferences or something like that, and it is just the time off, I'm working on YouTube stuff. Mm-hmm. Basically full time. So that's what I have been doing during the summer. And then the idea is like, if I just don't have to set an alarm clock, if I don't feel good one day, I just stay in bed and that's it. And the end.
Yeah. And never mind that your job is probably the only major significant source of stress in your life, and you won't have that.
Yeah. Well, I don't know mentally what is going to happen. Hopefully it's healthy and I don't just become crazy.
Okay. So, see, this is why I wish we had recorded something on Saturday, like Friday, after you were done with work, because you're totally different now. And I was wondering if you can talk a little bit about what happened this weekend that helped change your mindset.
What was different on? Like, could you describe Friday how I was?
You were just so you were nowhere convinced. Like, convinced was not. You were very like, oh my God, stress dreams. Like, anxiety.
I had stress dreams last night though, so like.
But I feel like, okay, we did the couples table. We jumped on Clubhouse. You talked to some people. Yeah, so you talked to your mom even.
We talked about this. we had been talking about this. I was just so stressed out. And a big thing though, like you were super sick last week.
Yeah, that didn't help.
No. It kind of did, because it just reminded me of like, the thing that popped into my head was just, like health and being active and that kind of stuff is very important.
So I'm on Tom's health insurance. So I'm definitely like the biggest benefactor of Tom's job,
Yeah.
of Tom having this job.
Yeah.
I was sick. I had to go to urgent care. I needed medication.
We got all those things.
We got all those
and it
things.
makes me mad that the two are related.
Yeah,
Like,
that's
oh,
stupid.
I might have to do my job that doesn't seem to be working for me anymore in case I get sick next year. What? Why? Those are not connected things. But anyway, my point is, like, if I was just thinking, like, if you were super sick, or if like I got super sick and time was a factor, like the first, I wouldn't even think twice. Like, I'm not going to go, are you kidding me?
Right,
Go
if
sit in a
there's this,
staff meeting.
Life-changing thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so why does it have to be that? Why do you have to have like a terminal illness to get to the point where you're like, okay, now my time is my own.
Right.
If you can, I mean, that's my thing, is like being in control of your time. And it feels very like, I'm very scared of like flying too close to the sun on wings of wax by making these proclamations. So I'm like very, very scared. Even recording this podcast is scary for me because I feel like it's just jinxing something or whatever. But I just can't keep doing what I'm doing. It's not working for me as a person. It's what I hate is there's way too many days where I wake up at 5 a.m. The sun's not even up, and I just wish I could go back to bed.
That sucks.
The day hasn't even started. It's a brand new day, hasn't even started, and I already wish it was over. And that's not, everyone has those days once in a while where you're just like, oh, this day's gonna be so long, or I have to do so many things I want to do. Yes, but when it's like most of the days, and I'm trying to psych myself in, like, yeah, okay, but once I wake up, I'll feel better, and oh, we get to do this thing, okay, that's gonna be cool, and like which works, but you're just constantly psyching yourself up, like, yeah, no, it's good, this will be good, that'll be fun. Look, you made it, you feel good now, versus just like actually getting to enjoy.
It's just so
each of the days.
It's so frustrating to hear. Like, I mean, I'm never surprised. I'm always impressed and proud when Tom tells me about all the amazing things he does at work, but I am so frustrated at, like, okay, now, so there were 10 amazing people, staff, teachers, whatever, in this meeting, and we were talking about something like so just mundane and
email
like
worthy.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, I just see the waste of energy and time, which in my world is like, if you see a spark of energy, oh my God, you have to drop it because you never know when you're going to get it. It's hard to find the motivation, all those things.
Well, it's, to go back to what you said, so those were the thoughts kind of leading in, and that's what's weighing on my mind when you're saying, you know, all the stuff about you could just call, like, you should make the decision, live with it, yada, yada. And then Saturday we did couples table, but I didn't want to bring this up because we haven't told anybody yet.
Yeah.
And so I don't.
And we have people who work in your district.
Just, I don't want, that's just not how you do it. But it's like, God, I would love feedback. And so, you know, I was like chatted with a couple people, but we went to Clubhouse afterwards with like the group that's kind of the normal group, and Clubhouse is, you can't record it. You can't do whatever, and we just sort of
talked.
We
can see who's in there. That's the important
thing. You can see who's in there,
yeah.
And they can offer feedback, and it's such a good group of not just people who know us and our situation,
but they're fellow content creators,
right? And a lot of them have taken the leap or are considering taking the leap, and so hearing these perspectives and hearing it reminded me very much of when I was like starting my channel and wanting to do stuff, and then that's when we met, and you were like, yeah, you should do this, and it was like, oh, I'm not crazy for when it was kind of that same feeling of like, I sort of, part of me thought that maybe I'm gonna go in here and see, because I've heard stories from people who like left their thing to do YouTube or whatever full time, and after a year or so, they're like, here's my advice. If you have a job that you can stand, keep it.
Yeah.
And do this on the side. And that is just in my brain. And, you know, I was kind of expecting people to sort of do like, look, it's the insane world and you have some kind of stability, you have this, but like unanimously everybody was just like, what are you waiting for? Like, and people, they're offering advice, well, you could do this to bring in more stability and do that, have you thought about this? But it was not one person there thought it was ridiculous, not one person there thought it was premature.
Everyone was encouraging.
Every single person was. And I, you know, I mean, it's a biased group for sure, but that meant a lot to me. And it was such a variety of experiences, younger people, older people.
There's another teacher.
there was another former teacher, and there was a doctor who wants to leave medicine to do her own thing. Like, somebody who's gone through, a decade of education and all the stuff to get there, and still thinking like, yeah, maybe. And it's hard to get over that of like, yeah, okay, I have 2 degrees and 2 credentials and all this certification and all this training and all this experience.
To do YouTube.
And I'm just going to like, yeah, now I'm going to go do the same. Like the barrier to entry is the same as an 8th grader or something.
Yeah.
Like, but I mean, I know that's a big oversimplification of
obviously.
it, but but then I talked to my mom yesterday, which, I kind of floated the idea. Because let me tell you, like, where it just, she doesn't understand it was only a few weeks ago that I even mentioned, like, my channel makes money.
Right.
And she was pretty shocked when it made, like, a significant amount.
Yeah, it's not just, like, a couple hundred.
Yeah. But it's also, like, she's first to recognize, like, well, that's not what your salary is, though.
Yeah, of course.
We talked about this in past episodes, but for reference, in 2020, my channel made $50,000. My first couple years teaching, my salary was $48,000. So... interesting.
Yeah, but your mom is also the very first person whenever she comes to visit. Are you paying into retirement?
Yeah,
Are they
checked
matching?
your retirement?
Yeah.
All this stuff, blah, 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 blah. And she was happy, and she said, congratulations. She was excited. The only thing she really checked was like, you still have credentials, right? If something happens in the future and you need to go back, you could. And it's like, yeah. I mean, that's the other thing, too, is like, I don't know that the opportunity to jump in and do my own thing
closing a door
is going to be there in 10 years. Like, but I mean, I would not what I would want, but if I need to go get a job as an English teacher or whatever, like there's probably not going to be an abundance of teachers in the coming years because everybody is leaving or dying. So that's the job. But yeah.
So you've made the decision.
Yeah. I mean, I keep saying barring some unforeseen thing because at this point we haven't told anyone, which is why we're recording this now. I have no idea when and if it will be put out, but we just wanted to kind of document the journey. And today's been like, I've been feeling very anxious today.
I mean, I think that's normal.
I know. That's why I'm not like second guessing it, but yesterday was like all excitement. Today is anxiety.
Yeah.
And that's where that is.
Yeah. On Friday, you were not feeling this.
Friday was more confusion.
What is this?
Because it's thinking like, what is, like...
What even is this?
Yeah. What even is this? It's just... And then coming to terms with what it looks like. When we were in our clubhouse the other day, the thing... When people want to applaud, they like flash a little microphone thing. And the thing that got everybody's applause was when I said like, well, the idea of just not having to set an alarm clock anymore.
Yeah.
And it's crazy, like, but that's actually a big deal because you're starting
I'm talking about quality of life.
Well, you're starting your day off not on your own terms.
Yeah.
Like your day begins on someone else's terms. And it's not, like I'll set an alarm clock when Peter and I have a podcast and he's in Sweden.
That's your terms.
Yeah, that's like, I want to make sure I'm up in time to do this. It's 5 o'clock, 5:15. You have to get up. As soon as I get up on a school day, the first thing my brain just kicks into, first period, this is what we need to do. That means I need to set this up. Third period, this, that. Okay, I need to finish this, talk to this person. Like, and it does not stop. Just the planning and the prep. And so even if I'm like, oh, you don't have to go to work yet or blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, my brain's already there. Like
you're working.
Yeah.
I think eventually you should do some kind of content, probably a podcast on like all the other reasons you're leaving public education. Cause I think that's a whole...
Like the systemic issues?
Yeah. I think that's a whole episode.
I got opinions.
But... So now that you've made the decision, how are things going to change? What are you going to do for the next 5 months? Because the decision that you made is you're just not going to renew your contract, meaning you still have to finish out
which I'm contracted for this year. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So is there any, like, what are you going to do differently that you weren't thinking about last week now that you've made this decision?
For my own stuff or what?
Everything. Anything.
Well, I mean, there's nuts and bolts for work that like once I give notice, I want to play as much of a role in the transition as they want. Sometimes in those situations,
Okay, I mean in terms of YouTube.
Okay. But this is important for me. This is important for me, though.
Right.
Sometimes, like you're handing off a program, I know it can just go away or whatever, and so sometimes it's hands off, and sometimes it's involved, and I just want to do what I can to know that I'm there to help it go or not. But there's also just a lot of like, and this connects to everything because every day that I go into school now, every week, I'll be packing stuff up, taking stuff home. And I bring that up because that's emotional.
Yeah.
And that really does affect me in a way that then like affects how I feel when I get home and that kind of stuff. But in terms of YouTube stuff, I mean, a lot of it is kind of stay the course and see how the trend increases. I feel like over the last year especially, like I feel like my channel's found a focus, found an audience, so I kind of know more of where I'm going there. The biggest thing is not just to have my own course done by the end of the school year, but done before that and up and running, so that at least get like 1 or 2 sales and just get
You're gonna get more
a proof of concept going before the school year ends. So when that contract is done, there's already like a new potentially big revenue stream, or at least another stream is opened as one closes. And I've thought about monetizing podcasts. I have no idea how to do that. I've never done it before. But I think there's ways to do it that aren't terrible. And so I would, 3 podcasts, like enough of a listenership.
You've gotten feedback from your audience.
My audience the one told me to do it.
Yeah.
So I've always said no, because for me, the podcast has been authority building, because the channel talks so much about podcasting, streaming, all this gear.
And
this is like, look at all the different ways that I'm doing this thing. That's
have 3.
Yeah. And it's just been my own thing. And much like the YouTube channel, I started with one podcast. And that was literally like, my whole thing with that was not checking analytics and not just putting it out there. And it was
purely a passion project.
So bizarre when people started sending emails about it.
I listened to your podcast.
Yeah, I was like, how? Oh, right, the internet.
Why?
Yeah, why though? Like, was everything else broken, or are you okay? But no, and then building that up over, again, 2 years. I think it's 2 years that's been happening. So, over 2. So, things in motion. So continuing to grow podcasting, and I'm trying to like build relationships with brands for potential sponsorship things, but I don't know what that would look like, but at least the opportunities are there.
Oh, sorry.
One of our dogs just kicked the other in the face on accident. They're laying down. But so that's kind of there. And then what I've been doing is I'm trying to put things in place for, like we're figuring out taxes and that kind of stuff, like financial stuff for our business. So really getting those things nailed down, figuring out my own, I want to have some kind of structure when my contract ends. I don't want to just be like, every day is just like whatevs, but I want to know like, okay, like here's at least a structure to get you started, and you can function within that and change it whenever you want, because it's up to you. So building that kind of stuff out, which means learning things like Notion and figuring that out. I'm coming up with ideas for stuff like, if I'm not at my job all day every day, things like live streams would be more possible. I don't have the time to do them now, but there's such good community builders.
Yeah, are you kidding? You had like 160 people in your last live stream.
And I mean, part of the reason I think they do well is because I don't do them that often.
Yeah, but okay, even if they did half the amount, you'd still have like, 80 people there.
And I would like to focus on and figuring it out. I don't know if it's Patreon or YouTube channel memberships or both or whatever, but some kind of thing like that has... you can do private streams and videos, which I've found ways to do it easily. That's not, it's not like you get a new edited video every day.
Yeah.
Like, no. Like, I have found a way in terms of workflow. It's super easy to just do quick update videos and stuff, which is what the people who sign up for that stuff want anyway. But then also, because when I do a big public stream, there can be so many people. They're like, you have to be there getting the questions and doing that. The more like members only thing would actually be smaller and more intimate.
Yeah,
and
like they can actually have a conversation.
You don't have to like keep resetting the room and this kind of thing. You can kind of like dive in. So I want to see how that works, but I don't know what the best approach is. So kind of, figuring those things out. And then I'm spending a lot of time trying to talk to people and like people who've made the leap and just sort of get insight, get feedback, even if it's just another like, go get them, like we believe in you, like that's very helpful. Trying, I'm open to devil's advocate, like you said earlier today.
I was like, because I've been such a proponent of Tom.
I mean, I think I have been that. And the fact that my mom was
dude, every
on board,
time we have brought this conversation up in the past,
yeah, dude,
you just I feel like you just immediately tune out. Like I don't even think that you're listening. I know you are, but it's just been so far off the table that
because I think of it's not even just the basics, but it's like I think of the stuff like the health insurance and the stability and just and does that mean then every video has to be some stupid like ad read and this and that, and that kind of stuff.
Every video is sponsored,
and I think of my job, and there's the I don't know if it's sunk cost or what, but the stuff that's gone into just getting to that point, and I don't want to be foolish and like, a nightmare is to quit. And then you're just like, the first thought is like, I wish I didn't do that. And you can't, it's it. You can't go back.
Let me tell you what you're not going to say.
I know, but
let me just tell you what you're not going to say.
But it's been so hard, especially pre-COVID when I was feeling dissatisfied and restless and tired and stressed. It's been so hard to differentiate my attitude. Like, is this just me having a bad attitude? Is this just me being negative? Or is this an actual, like a response to a thing? Or is it both or whatever? And I don't really know, but I feel like the past year has kind of highlighted it. There's a big part of me that does feel like, well, you could have a better attitude and you could approach it differently. But to do that would mean that I have to, like at my previous job, I didn't have YouTube or anything or know about that. So all the energy went into the program.
Right.
And we got to be so innovative and we did things that hadn't been done before. We got all kinds of national spotlights on us. It was crazy how much it grew, but then you just see like it doesn't, in the end, in terms of me, it doesn't really matter because it's somebody else's thing that I have now grown and it just disappears and students graduate and administration changes. And so I quickly learned, starting a new program, as much as I believed in it and it's grown successfully, extra effort should be put into my own thing. But I worried that would then cause resentment towards the job, which I think it did. Because, when I'm sitting here now, especially staring at a screen of blank Zoom things, and I'm like, I could be doing anything is better than this. Yeah. Like
it's so, I mean, I know there's always kids that don't want to be in school, but there was always the kids that made up for it that were like,
and I was lucky enough to have most of that.
To be there.
Most of my students were at least actively chose to be there, and then the percentage of them that
like literally didn't want to leave. Yeah. And I would tell Tom, you better shut your door for lunch because you need a break.
Yeah, that kind of stuff, But it's.
The thing about Tom's job that I've always noticed, and this is how looking back on my own career, the person who made the introduction to my last job to me told me when after I left that job, told me that, oh, you've always been entrepreneurial minded. No one had ever, I didn't know what the word entrepreneur was until after I quit. And when he told me that, it was probably like a year, like it had been some time after I left. And I just framing it that way, looking back at all the initiatives that I started on campus or in every job I've had, and always a lot of the response that I got, a majority of the response that I got was like people being very impressed and very like, wow, like you're such a like jack of all trades, like you could do all these crazy things. But then there was always people who were like, why are you changing it? This is always the way that we've been doing it. Why do you have to go crazy? Are you proud of spending the weekends here? Like, that was some of the feedback that we got. I feel like you've gotten a lot of that. Tom is like literally a meteor in his job. And so much of public education
Mm-hmm.
just being what it is just, no, Tom, you don't need to do 110%. No, Tom, you don't need to.
Well, it's not even
to go like
you don't
this
need to
big.
do. You do need to do 110%, but like as a social worker or on these things over
Yeah,
here
like
that are just unrelated and unimportant.
And these people have no idea because they're not in the classroom. They don't know your
Right.
program. They don't know how it works. They don't know your vision. They don't know what you're capable of. And they are the ones dictating the outcomes and the priorities and stuff.
They don't understand what it means. I don't care if like an administrator, and luckily, like I said, I have good ones, but walks through a classroom and gets a vibe, a sense for what's happening. Sure. Even if somebody subs in a class for a day or something, that's just not the same as day in, day out, working with this stuff, like growing it, building these relations. Like,
But my point is that takes a toll on your soul.
it does, yes.
Yeah.
It takes a soul
It's
toll.
not, but that's what I'm saying. It's not your attitude.
Oh, okay. I was just so worried.
It's not your attitude. It's just it's like you're similar to me. It's like I hate inefficiency. I stare at it and it drives me crazy. And the fact that people would rather have it that way because for whatever reason just kills me. And like, you know, when you're sitting in these meetings about like just not teaching, completely not teaching related, I can see how you're just like, I can't believe this is what we're doing right. I can't believe I had to wake up an extra hour early for this.
Right. It's crushing. And it just...
And it sucks. Of course, I see. This is why I feel for you, because I know you could tell yourself like, well, this is what I'm getting paid for. Health insurance.
That's what I do. Yeah. It's just like, okay, well, I'm contracted during these hours, so this is what they're having me do. So that's what I will do.
Yeah. If they tell you to do this or that or whatever, then you do it because this is the contract.
But then my brain is just like...
Then your soul toll.
And the crazy thing too is some of those things, like we had a staff development day where there were no kids, so it was just staff meetings, but it's all virtual on Zoom. So literally, like in terms of physical exertion, 0 for the day because I'm just sitting in front of the camera on Zoom for the whole day. And it's the most exhausting
Your brain was
thing.
fried.
Yeah, so it's not so that the problem then is not like, well, you're done at 3 and then you have the rest of the day to be creative and do your own thing. It's like, no, I can't even walk. And I know that sounds ridiculous, but like you just can't.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah, and like entrepreneurship is very stressful, but a lot of what you do, especially, I mean, because you know this, you've done it. When you're working on a video, it's like invigorating. It's fun. It's what you want to work on, how you want to work on it. Like it's not like it's stressful.
right. Sorry, I'm yawning.
It's almost bedtime for Tom.
I know. It's past 8 right now on a work night. Oh, jeez.
On a school night.
But it's just, I mean, that I'll have to figure that out. It sounds wonderful. And I've had tastes of that. Like, you know, I've had breaks where you can sleep in, you can work on what you want to work on.
Yeah, but it's different.
But to have that
your
not
summer
end?
break is different because
It's overshadowed by the end of summer break.
Well, no, but you're also trying to fit in the fact that it is summer break.
Right.
So you haven't been able to.
It's a lot of pressure.
Yeah, you're like, okay, yeah, I can work on my thing, but I want to also just couch it for the whole day.
Right. It's like Christmas break where it's like, oh, you have 2 weeks off.
The trade-off is still happening.
But over these 2 weeks, I have to do my stuff.
family.
We have to visit your family. We have to visit my family. We have to celebrate the holidays. I need to relax and chill. And
so
we're
Christmas
doing a
break
house project.
is totally
which is why I was actually very grateful for COVID break 2020 because we were forced to stay home and it was like, we
didn't
got a
travel
break.
anywhere.
We actually got a break. And that was magical, but not having to cram that and not having to say like, your family lives somewhat closer to mine, but it's not.
It's still.
You have to plan visits.
Yeah.
And my family lives far enough away where it's like it's
there.
Thanksgiving or Christmas. Yeah. Those are, or actually not even in the summer. And now to not even have like, it could just be a time. Even my mom said, she was like, oh, you could just visit any time. And I bet like you could just work on stuff here if you needed to.
Exactly, because all you need is a laptop.
Yeah, I just need the internet. And I can do it from wherever. And that's great. And
like an hour of you working on your thing you're gonna be able to produce so much.
Well, that's what you were watching the video that I watched the other day. It was from Henny the Business. He was like almost hitting 100,000 on YouTube, and he just sort of did like a motivational video kind of thing, talking to the camera. But at one point, he used the analogy of every day you're just putting one more brush stroke on this like masterpiece of your life. And for some reason, I really like that, because it was like, okay, you don't need to conquer the world. You don't need to have the grand thing figured out, but like every day just take a few steps towards that, which is, I feel like, is what I've been doing. But it's also like, take a step in that direction, but can you just carry this boulder chain to you as well?
Yeah, like, well, I feel like it's been pulling you back.
Right. Or it's, one step forward and two steps back kind of thing. Or it's, I don't know. It's just, yeah. It's just time. I just think that it's time, because also, the big thing, like the big deciding factor, was taking a realistic look at next school year for me and thinking, like I said, in best circumstances, what a normal day in November will look like is just not something I can conceive of being that I would want to do.
Right. And that's what I've made.
And I can't get around that. There's no.
Yeah. I've made that very clear to you that, and I think you knew this, you had no plans to, quit this early, but it's like everyone has had to
officially
shift.
I'm 20 years from retirement, but
like everyone has had to make some kind of major shift, especially when it comes to their career during COVID, and I think this just is your shift.
I think so. And it's just, and looking at the career, when you list the accolades, like it's a good
not like
chunk.
you were sitting there, dude.
Yeah, I didn't teach English for 2 years and then go do something else. Like it's really a good portfolio thing.
And no
happening.
diss to like anybody, like any other teacher, but you're just not that.
Everybody has their
like
own
that.
things.
Yeah,
There's
like some people just show up and just do a great job in the classroom and then go home. They've got families and all
some
that,
people too, like a big thing for me is that teaching is shifted more heavily towards social work than teaching. And
during this time.
Even before, I mean, that was a complaint I'd had a long time. It's like, and it's not because I don't care about people's
hungry,
needs.
You feed them.
I care about that, but I'm not equipped. I'm not a counselor. Like, I'm literally not professionally equipped to deal with that stuff. But there are people who are, and there are people who love it. And if you're that person, it's a thrill. Like you love what you're doing. And I've
clearly a lot of your coworkers who I've met are so passionate.
And I've seen groups of students through programs. I've done I've sort of done it, and I could keep doing it, but I've sort of like done the big stuff that I wanted to do. And I kind of don't, for the longest time, I thought I had it so good that I was always say like, I'm just going to keep riding the wave. Like that was, I would literally tell people that, like, if they ask me like, do you want to go here? Do you want to do this? Cause, especially like I get semi-job offers from other schools sort of regularly. And I'd always just say like, I'm just kind of riding the wave. It's really good. And I think that the wave is like, I don't know, crashing. Like the wave has crashed. Yeah. And
COVID-19 was
you can hang out and catch another wave, but that's literally another 6 to 10 years of your life to catch the wave, ride the wave, do the thing. And I just don't want to do that with the next 6 to 10 years.
Yeah.
I really don't.
I love the fact that you are making this decision, because I really don't think.
I think it would be a regret, like a huge, genuine regret.
Well, that's the important thing.
Yeah.
That's what it comes down to.
Years from now, looking back, going like, I could have, who knows? The same way of like, what if I had started my YouTube channel in 2013?
Yeah.
How different? Like, not that I would want anything to be different right now, but yeah, but I guess that's not a regret. But if I had never started it, if we're still 2021, I was watching videos going like, one day.
Well, clearly you had an itch.
Yeah.
Like I saw the itch, and then we've seen what has happened since you.
Yeah, this is very similar to that.
Yeah.
Like, and it's the thing of you and I talked about this yesterday. I don't remember. It was sort of like, okay, before we met and when I started, like before I started my channel was when I discovered Casey.
Yeah, Tom went through a whole like redefine.
Eat, pray, love. Like,
yeah. You had your Eat, pray, love. It was summer 2017.
17.
Yeah. That was the summer we met.
Yeah, I know. Because why else would I reach out to somebody new?
Yeah,
Why else would I
yeah.
even be open to?
You were having your eat, pray, love.
Yes, that's not. But it was literally like.
But it was a life changing.
And it was because the lows had been so low.
Yeah.
That I was just like, okay, if I'm doing everything the way I am supposed to be doing it, and this is where I end up. Screw that. Like, that is terrible. Yeah. I'll just do things the way I want to do them because it can't be worse. and then when it's just like, when you sort of cast that off and it really does become like every little thing from like, you know, I don't know. Yeah, I do want to eat Pop-Tarts for dinner. Like, who cares? Or, you know, I want to make a career change, or I'm going to build a TV studio in my classroom, or you know, I'm going to start a YouTube channel because I've wanted to, and I don't care if somebody's going to think it's stupid. Like, I want to do it now because I want to do it. I want to get a drone license, and I want to figure those things out for no real.
You want to get a boosted board.
Yeah, with no end goal. It wasn't like I could get a drone license and then I could make revenue, because it was literally just like
just for fun.
I just think this would be a really cool accomplishment. And I have to learn things. I have to go to an airport and take a test and like get all the things, and then to do it. And like little things like that were just so big, you know. And then meeting you and you telling me like the things you're doing are great and you should keep doing more of them.
Yeah, you're like the most amazing person I've ever met.
We should just get married. And then having the channel grow, you know, it took, which. Like, I was happy with the growth, but I don't know. Everyone we talked to, their channels grow so much faster than mine did.
Uh-huh.
But
it wasn't easy. People, I mean, it looks easy now, but
yeah,
I remember. I mean, your 50 subscriber live,
which I wasn't like bummed out. I never got bummed out that it wasn't growing, but it took me 6 months to hit 100 subscribers. But I remember doing 40 videos and having 32 subscribers.
Yeah, everyone. Okay, like, have patience.
Yeah, so I mean, like, that's.
My brother's over here complaining he's got 2,000 subscribers in 6 months.
Yeah, it took me years.
And he wants to like, oh, it's too slow.
Hi, Kevin. But I mean, the point being, like, that was a big, like, I'm making these videos, I'm doing a thing. Look, I bought a camera with a flip up screen because I'm gonna put myself in front of the camera.
I know you did.
That's a very big deal. Learning how to do that kind of stuff, figuring out what the channel is, starting to build an audience, like all of those things of just the world can push and pull how I want it to, in my little world. This feels like version 2 of that, where it's like, okay, you did those things, and those things,
and it resulted in
those things.
These opportunities
were good,
yeah.
And now you can do other things, and you could even take, all the big things in your life that you think are immovable. It turns out you could just say no and just do something else instead. Mm-hmm. And maybe it could be okay.
Yeah. I mean, not only that, it's going to be amazing.
I know, but I'm scared to say that. So.
Oh my gosh. I mean, I think even the most practical, logical person can take a look at, everything that you do and what you're capable of and be like, homie, like, literally, it's impossible for you to, I don't know what the word is. I don't want to say fail, because there's nothing wrong with failing. You just like move on to the next thing. But like, what you've built now is on an upward momentum. That's undeniable.
Right. I mean,
and wherever that's going to take you, or wherever you decide to take it, it's going.
Well, just to be able to be the one that decides. And it's not, and that's like the other thing too, I guess, is it's not that's why I don't like using the word fun, because it is fun and I want it to be fun.
It's still hard.
But it's not lazy. It's not like, I just want to hang out all day.
Yeah.
Which I do. But like, I know that's not what I'm saying. I'm going to quit my job and just hang out all day. But it's like, no, I'm going to invest my time and energy into my own thing that I will grow.
You want to build something.
I want to build my thing further. And I want it to be mine, because I literally don't want there to just be like a politician that takes office and can decide to take it away. Or I don't want like, oh, this person retired and now there's a new person in this position, so they just don't like you, and everything's going to go away because of that. Like, no, I don't want that. And I don't want like...
Well, that and like, there's a reason. People who decide to be teachers for a reason. Like you are very passionate about youth development, making an impact, helping people. That's not going to magically go away because you quit your job. And this will allow you to do that in a capacity that you've never had.
Yes. And that was a couple, it might have been.
Like your ability to teach is going to, be tenfold.
It was months ago that you kind of first pointed that out. Like, it's not like you're leaving public education, you're leaving teaching the way you've always taught, but you're not you're not no longer a teacher.
Yeah.
Because you can still work with students. And in this case, they can be students who pay to be there, who want to be there, who are actually motivated.
They're volunteering to be there.
And who are willing to like put in you don't have to convince them and trick them into like doing the work. Like they're there to go, okay, I'm ready. What do I need? And then you just help them along the way.
Yeah, they have a goal and they want you to help them get there. Like what an amazing thing.
I've never done that before, but obviously it's different than it's a different situation and context than working with like high school kids, but
see, that's why I think.
But at least that itch can be scratched.
This is a perfect, exactly. Like you're not quitting and then going to like, I don't know, aerospace engineering or something. Like this to me just sounds like a very natural next step in your teaching career. You're just doing it in different capacity, in a better capacity, in my opinion.
I hope. So that is one of the other things that I want to do. Like when I say courses and things, I want to figure out a way that is beyond just like making a course and that, but like what is the clear outlet for the teaching thing, which will build on the 11-year career, but also continue it. So that way I get that itch scratched. I can monetize that. And then also that is continuing to build like the resume along the way and the thing along the way. Mm-hmm. 'Cause I don't want to like stop and then in 6 years be like, yeah, I taught high school for 11 years, 6 years ago. Like I want it to be, you don't want a gap in your resume, basically. Like I want it to be.
Well, I want to tell you, if you haven't done this already, to please take some time, like consciously take some time to give yourself credit.
I don't know how to do that. So
because I mean, for you to take a chance, for you to believe in yourself, like I know this is all cheesy. This is all cheesy advice that everyone have patience, blah blah. But you you literally did all those things. It's been 4 years.
That makes me feel good.
Like like your example of like I got a flip screen camera because you're gonna film yourself. Like that's not literally. You are a videographer. You're someone who's been holding a camera since you were 14 or younger, whatever. Yeah. And for you to make that decision, like that's not even something I thought about. I didn't get a flip screen. It was just the camera I had that didn't have a flip screen. Like all those decisions have compounded into, creating a possibility for you to be able to do this, thankfully, during this crazy, crazy time.
Right.
And that's all because of you.
Well, thank you.
You took a chance. You decided that you were going to sit here. And do you know how many people, I know you know this, how many people want to start a podcast, but they're too scared. They think it's stupid. They feel like someone's going to think it's stupid. And you decided to I'm going to record a podcast in my room. I'm going to close my door. I'm going to talk to myself for an hour. And I'm going to push upload.
Right.
And you did that how many times with your YouTube channel, with Instagram Live, with all of these things. Like every single time you took a chance on yourself and every single time you believed in yourself. And I think that has paid off, is paying off. And I hope you give yourself credit. Well, give yourself credit.
Thank you. Financially, I might need credit if things don't.
Just I'm kidding. With your 800 perfect score.
I don't know how to take compliments, but thank you.
It's not even compliments. It's but I want you to recognize that you are what you're capable of.
I wouldn't be making the decision if I didn't think I were capable of things.
I'm here to remind you.
Thank you. Alrighty.
So anyway,
guess that's where we wrap it up. I know we'll do.
What else is up in your world?
Literally nothing. I know we'll do like other installments. I don't even know how to end this. I can add on a.
Do you have an idea of when you're going to post this?
After after I have told,
Put in notice.
Yeah, after I've officially told people, so that way that needs to be done first before.
Yeah. You need to do it right. Yeah.
Right, of course. But it's important to capture the feelings in the moment, because otherwise it'd be months from now going like,
well, we can't even remember what happened on Friday. So
I know.
Tom lost his keys and we were digging through the trash yesterday.
I know, till I like had to go to my mind palace and remember like they fell behind the thing in the garage. Okay.
Yeah, no, I think that, hey, I documented my entrepreneurial journey. I think you should definitely document yours.
Yes. Once it can be public knowledge, which if you're listening to this, it is.
So shoot Tom a message. Tell him what you thought.
Yes, that would be great to hear. And
I'm sure he loves the feedback.
I do.
Yeah.
Positive only. Thank you. I don't know. I guess I could play the outro song.
Okay.
Let's save future Tom some editing. There we go. Wish me luck.
Bye.